Hi ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another Dungeons how-to video. This one will be about the Archer class. As I said in the healer one, this class is a lot more straightforward. There is a clearly defined set line that you're supposed to go through, and obviously you just need a good bow. But I will still be describing that for anybody who's new and just wants to just set an easy goal for themselves as they progress through dungeons. So, back to the chest. Changed it to Archer, made a slightly fancier design, but this is most of what you'll need. So I'll start with the set progression. We got Skeleton Grunt, basic set. Well, actually, let's start with something else. So here would probably go Unstable as your starter set, just because crit damage is so much more effective for bows than Strength would be. And then you'd go to Skeleton Grunt. This is mythic. You would want it to either be pure or fierce. Pure if you need the crit chance, fierce if you already have the crit chance and you just need more damage. So the epic version is what you want. Rare works, but epic is definitely what you want. But as you can see, it's got the base stats, side stats, and it would be different if it was reforged properly, like this one is. So Soldier is an upgrade. He's not only almost always epic, so it's easier to get that way. It also has better stats, only slightly, but that increases in dungeons as you give him more stars. It's also pure, which is a good representation of one of the reforges it should be. It not only does the same thing as Skeleton Grunt, which you can see on the bottom there right above Epic Dungeon Chestplate, increases the damage you deal with arrows by 5%. This is on every piece, so you'll get a total of 20% from the Grunt set. Soldier set will give you the same 20%, but the full set bonus Skeleton Soldier gives you another 25, so that becomes 45. And we're only on the Soldier set. Master is pretty much the same thing. It's better. You can't see the difference, but it is a much better set. It does require 12. This set I believe requires 9. This has no requirement, like Catacombs level. But here's the thing. I have the full Master set. The chest plate, if you see right sandwiched between increases the damage and the Skeleton Master set bonus, your bows don't consume arrows at all. None of them. Which is really helpful for an archer. And then the rest of the set is the same as Soldier, except slightly more powerful. And then one that surprised me, but makes sense, is the Skeletor set. It increases your damage and crit damage for every 10 Skeletor kills, which doesn't really seem like it is all that much for Archer at the start, but then you look at how it already has crit chance and crit damage as the base stats, which are both very good for Archer. But what finalizes it is at the bottom. Each piece grants a 1-second cooldown reduction on bone plating, which, if you didn't know, is one of the passive abilities of Archer. It's the second one here. Reduces your next incoming hit by a certain amount of damage, which scales with Archer level and critical damage. So crit damage does also increase that. And then last but not least, of course, adaptive, which for Archer would give crit chance and crit damage. And it's fairly straightforward. Just go with adaptive as your final set. Definitely get that. Let's move on to weapons. So I have this bow. It is very good. 5-star epic Unreal machine gun bow. It is my best bow. You should try to get one of these for dungeons, especially with the rapid fire ability. That counts as arrows, so that would also be boosted by the passive, which I will describe later. Adaptive blade, you can't see it again. There, that might help a bit. But the Archer buff is plus 100 crit damage while holding the weapon. Now, at first you might be like, well that wouldn't work, because you need to be holding the bow to do damage. Wrong. If you right-click to use your class ability, which does shoot arrows, you'll still gain the 100 crit damage from holding this weapon. So that's good. But otherwise, this is unnecessary. You don't need it unless you want that little buff on your ability. And then Runon's or Scorpion bow or Mosquito bow, any of those really good as your side bows. I do suggest Runon's and or Hurricane if you just want to let out a ton of arrows and get good accuracy, because there is no aiming in dungeons at all, except for one Archer ability, which I will show you later. So the more arrows you can shoot at once, the better, and the more likely you'll hit things. And then pets, I forgot to do this in the last one, sorry. I think I edited something in. But obviously a skeleton pet. Increases arrow damage by 10%, which is tripled well, this is at 50, so it'll be 20% max, which is tripled in dungeons. So that's another 30% on top of your 45 here, which would make it 75, which is quite a big buff. And then gain a combo stack for every bow hit, granting +3 strength. And you can have 8.5 stacks. So you could have 25.5 strength added. But after 8 seconds, one stack disappears, but then you can continually renew it. And like every other archer thing, this skeleton gives crit damage and crit chance. And of course you'll get your dungeon orb, but that's just side stuff. So now let's look at the archer stuff. Basic here, you got arrow damage increased. I believe it's basically 125% roughly, and then melee damage is decreased to make sure that you're actually using the bow. And then we got our abilities. So here, class passives, double shot. I think, yeah, it starts at 50% chance to shoot a second arrow, which is then doubled if you are the only archer, which makes it you always shoot double arrows. And then you got bone plating, reduces your next incoming hit by that much damage, scales with archer level and critical damage, cooldown of 20 seconds, so that only works once. It's quite helpful to make sure you don't get one-tapped all the time. But archer should stay back. If you're going to play archer, stay back behind a tank, a healer, or a berserker. Maybe a mage too, because mages are quite overpowered. But just try to snipe, because if you don't, you will die, and you'll get frustrated with this class. But they will buff it, or they should. So stick with it. So then there are two abilities. Explosive shot, shoot an arrow that explodes on impact, dealing the same damage as your highest bow hit in the last minute in a 4-block radius. So it just does splash damage with a bow. And then rapid fire shoots 5 arrows per second for 5 seconds. Arrows deal 75% of your highest bow hit in the last minute. Now, I do not remember which ability gets aiming 1, but they buffed Archer by allowing one of these abilities to have aiming. This is the only way you can get aiming in dungeons right now, so this is very helpful when trying to get ranged abilities. I believe it's rapid fire, but do not quote me on that. And ghost abilities, arrow gift, drops a few arrows for your teammates, and then stun bow is quite nice. Temporarily stuns any non-boss dungeon monster for a short period of time when shot. Cooldown of 3 seconds, you can continually stun something. Let's say one of your teammates is really low, like it's the healer. You want to keep them alive, just try to stun everything around the healer and just let them chill until people get revived. And then, of course, stuff gets buffed every level. Last thing, you should definitely try to get a legendary skeleton. And this is why. If you see the third ability, Skeletal Defense, your skeleton shoots an arrow dealing 60 times your crit damage when a mob gets close to you every 15 seconds. This is extremely overpowered. So 60 times the crit damage. So we're just going to use the sword as an example. Crit damage 72. It's fairly close. So here, we'll test it with this. I'd have 227. Now let me just do some quick maths. That would be 13.6k damage, which is quite a good amount to do passively with a pet. So, on that note, I think this is a fairly good sort of progression chart that you could use as an archer. Now, I know that archer is not all that good at the moment, but they have already buffed it slightly, and I'm assuming they will buff it a bit more or debuff mage. So just stay tuned. If you're already playing archer, just keep playing archer. It's probably it is the class with the clearest progression line. Like it's just so obvious. I honestly don't know why the others aren't. But hope this helps. And thanks for watching.